Good evening, everybody. We're here again, coming at you live from deepest, darkest England. And this week we're celebrating a fantastic international film from the Peccadillo back catalogue, and it's called Sublime. Here's the trailer.
Oh. ¿El tema que estabas haciendo? ¿No lo pusiste?
Cuando lo tenga más armado. ¿Me ayudás con la letra?
¿Qué pensás?
En voz. ¿Tu viejo sabe para qué la estamos usando?
Ni se acuerda que existe.
Manu habla cuando duerme.
Mando mensajes. ¿Qué tiene?
Ahora sin darse cuenta.
Papá habla también.
¿Sabes cómo te curás? Haciendo música.
Tiene que hacer lo que él quiera.
Claro, por eso.
La guitarra hace que una parte se tensione, otra se relaje. Como lo dice ella, suena todo sexual.
¡No!
¿Estás pensando en ella? No. Entonces, ¿en quién?
Voy a esperarte acá.
Voy a esperarte en el mar.
Qué mejor.
Great. Hi, guys. So, Sublime is a kind of coming of age, will they, won't they love story. And it's written and directed by our guest here, Mariano. And we've got our actors, Martín and Teo. Welcome, everybody.
Thank you.
Hello. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Thank you for joining us. I'm no good at Spanish, so Mariano is going to help me speak to Teo. So, guys, I watched the film. It's fantastic. It really feels to me like a film that's made out of a really potent feeling rather than an intellectual exercise. It brought back for me huge amounts of memories and emotions that I didn't remember I remembered. So it really made me feel that age again. So I'm just wondering about the instinctive kind of power that brought the film about.
I will translate for Teo.
Sure.
Chris está diciendo que la película está construida más desde la emoción que desde el pensamiento, desde el intelectual, y que lo conectó a él con muchos recuerdos que no se acordaba que tenía de su adolescencia. Así que la pregunta es desde cómo está construido, desde dónde sale esa fuerza que cuenta la historia.
¿Vas a arrancar vos o...?
I will say that the film was inspired by I wanted to tell a story about friendship, how friendship can mix with other feelings, with other deep feelings. How can friendship empower those feelings? Not because in other times, in probably a few years ago or 10 or more years ago, it was like choosing, you want to be a friend, you want to be a lover. Right now, doors and windows are opening and things are changing for good. And that's what I wanted to explore with the movie.
The opening of the film starts with Manu at his birthday party, and he's unhappy that his best friend isn't there. Let's take a little look at the clip and then we'll discuss it.
Vamos bien fuerte ahora, ¿eh? Vamos, Manu. Hijo, disfruta, es tu cumple. Para que se apague.
No te voy a dar el encendedor a vos. ¿Me da la mano? Alguien ¿Puede cerrar esa ventana, por favor? ¡Timbre! Incertidumbre. ¿Quién será?
Felipe, viste que venía.
¿Contentos ahora?
Sí, ahora te ayudo. Sí, obvio que lo valoro. Bueno, pará, calmate. Yo soy el que tiene que estar nervioso.
So that clip immediately reminded me of when I was about that age, and a French exchange student came to stay at our house, and I just could not leave him alone. And I was just instinctively drawn to him. I just could not, like the smell of him, the look at, like, I just wanted to be near him. I must have looked like a 5-year-old stalker. But it reminded me so much of that powerful energy you have as a child, where all you know is that you're attracted to things, and you don't know why or how or what the reason. You're just kind of an animal moving through the world, just being caught by inspiration.
Chris dice que esa escena le recordó el momento en que él era chico y que cuando uno es chico en esa edad no tiene conciencia de qué es lo que a uno le atrae. Entonces, en ese momento, él sentía necesidad de estar cerca del otro y no tiene filtros para pensar qué era lo que los unía, más que el deseo de estar con el otro. So, we shot that scene in video, and it was really fun to do because we were like recreating life in a few years ago. It was a challenge to find the actors to play Martín and Teo's characters as childs, and it was really fun. And we have pictures with 2 versions of Manu, 2 versions of Felipe together. It was really nice. And in the movie, the birthday is important also for the story, because it's something that repeats at some point in the story when they have another opportunity to be in a birthday missing somebody with this kind of strength and this sadness of feeling that somebody's missing in the picture.
And how did it feel for you at your age, Mariano, to kind of go backwards? Because I know as a writer, often we'll go back into our own experiences and kind of plumb the depths of those. What did it feel like to return to that age in your psyche?
It was really emotional to do that. In my case, there was no the exact situation. There was no Felipe in my equation, in my experience, but I had a lot of funny and emotional memories from those kind of birthdays. I was expecting for them to come. I had the bad luck to have my birthday in summer, where everybody was on vacation, and I used to be alone with my parents and a couple of cousins. But I always wish to have this kind of party with a lot of friends and people. And
yeah, that's exactly. On my birthday's in August, so exactly the same happened to me. Everybody was aware.
Te lo estamos diciendo que mi cumpleaños es en enero, en verano, y
Sí, que no va
en
nadie.
agosto.
Claro, quedan igual. A mí me pasó decirle que algo parecido a un cumpleaños a la primera escena con León, un amigo mío, que yo había quedado con que iba y después no sé qué pasó, que no fue a mi cumpleaños. Yo estuve todo el cumpleaños esperándolo. No me puse tan mal como ahí Manu, pero fue algo que también esperaba.
¿A qué edad? What age?
Y 8, 9.
They were saying that when he was 8 years old, he had something, a similar experience with Leon, his best friend. Is like his Manu in his real life. And Leon promised that he was coming to his birthday, and he didn't show up, and he was frustrated all the birthday. I didn't know that. You didn't tell me that. No me habías contado eso.
Era en un cumpleaños que jugábamos al fútbol, el fútbol 5 al 5. Creo que fue por mis 9, por mis 10, ahora que pienso.
It was in a soccer theme birthday. We used to organize soccer matches in our birthday parties.
So hidden motivations there for Teo's character.
Exactly. Tenías una motivación oculta en tu personaje, Teo, de vengarte, a revenge for him.
So in the film, I found it really interesting the way that you've designed the interactions of the characters, because it seems very apt for that age, which is that the characters behave in ways which cross each other and are always open to multiple interpretations. And it seems you use a lot, you lean into the dramatic irony of the audience knowing slightly more about Manu's emotional state than the characters around him. That seems quite a complex way of engaging with the drama.
Yeah. Teo, Chris está diciendo que la película tiene un montón de momentos en que quizás intuye que la audiencia sabe un poco más que los personajes. Entonces, como que hay como que está muy bien construido esa que parecen situaciones que no tienen tanta literalidad y que la gente puede entender más de lo que los personajes saben. For me, to build that was very important to work with the silence, because in these coming of age stories and teenage movies, I noticed that they speak about what they feel all the time, and I think that teenage is not like that so much. Probably in most of the movies it works like that, especially in comedies or I don't know. But I wanted to make to understand how a teenager feels, to let them swim in the silence, and they were very generous with me because they gave me long periods. I mean, the movie was really hard to edit because they had very powerful moments just sustaining the silence. That helped me a lot to work like that. There is a contrast between music, in which they put a lot of their emotions, and silence.
And yeah, and it seems for an audience point of view, those silences allow you to kind of project upon the story and reflect your own memories. And that seems to be completely a mirror image of what they're going through in the moment, in the scenes. They're projecting on each other, trying to work out the enigmas of each other. Okay, we've got a clip that kind of, I think, quite nicely demonstrates this. So let's have a look.
Vamos a ver otro.
Cuando lo tenga más armado.
Apurate.
Hablé con Margarita y no nos presta nada. Tenemos que alquilarle todo.
Y sí, era obvio. ¿La batería nos la da?
Le pedí la bata, el equipo de voces, los micrófonos. Los amplis van los tuyos.
Va a sonar bien.
¿Me ayudás con la letra?
Ni en pedo.
¿En qué pensás?
En vos. En vos.
Laurel, madera húmeda. El regreso por el otro lado del camino, el perfumado, el desconocido.
Great. So I think that clip really shows that use of silence there, and that collision of how they speak to each other, almost at cross purposes. Teo and Martin, obviously you've been living through this age a lot more recently than we have. So how did it feel to kind of to use yourself in the film to create these moments?
Pregunta Chris, hoy ustedes que están viviendo, que están mucho más cerca de esa edad, ¿cómo se sintieron al usar sus experiencias o su persona para construir el personaje?
Bueno, arranco yo. Yo capaz que me siento en muchas cosas identificado con Felipe, pero las formas capaz no son las mismas. Entonces, nada, fue trabajarlo, en realidad ponerme en el personaje justamente, porque por más de que yo muchas cosas me siento muy parecido, no accionaría o no hago las cosas de la misma manera, ¿viste?
He finds himself very similar to Felipe in many ways, but when it comes to take action on the choices he makes, they are very different. So he had to focus on that part to connect with the character, on how Felipe makes decisions about his feelings.
For me, I think that I'm nothing similar to Manu. Like I have to create a being of to not to say things and to be a more selfish character, but with a lot of things in his mind. Like he thinks a lot. Manu thinks a lot, and he doesn't say so much, but you can see him in his face, in his movements, and I think that I am not like Manu, and it was a very difficult process to create this type of being.
Yeah, I can feel that in the film, that there's a sense in the film of both of the characters expanding their territory, like their psychological territory. They're edging and slowly expanding out into the world of girls, obviously towards each other, then into the group, and then they're also doing that creatively with they play in a band together, and so they're creatively expanding their territory. And they seem to be, but there's a great sense of them being uncertain as they move into these territories. Nothing ever sits on a stable basis.
Los personajes durante la película, durante la película se van expandiendo y van conociendo nuevos territorios donde se nota que no están haciendo pie, como que nada es sólido, están expandiéndose tanto con las chicas como en el vínculo entre ellos y con la música también, con el espacio creativo. Se están extendiendo hacia el mundo, pero nunca se siente que están pisando sobre piso firme. ¿Qué piensan sobre eso?
Ahí habla Tincho.
I have something to say from this. What you said is, I think it's something that Mariano explained to me, and it helped me a lot because we built together like a timeline of Manu's, like a timeline of the, how do you say,
emotional process, the emotional process.
That's that, like a timeline of the emotional process and all the things that were happening to Manu. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Sorry, the Siri activated. Hold on. Okay, we created that timeline of the emotional process, and that helped me a lot to to be when we shot the scene. I read that timeline and I know where Manu was in the story, like his emotional process.
Yeah, because as an actor, I know that often it's most important to know what you don't know rather than to know what you do. Because obviously you read the whole script, you know the whole story, where the story's going to go, and then you have to do a bit of kind of reverse engineering to return to an ignorance, the character's ignorance of their behavior. That's often quite difficult to remember to do.
Chris dice que los actores tienen el desafío de soltarse de información que uno al leer todo el guión ya tenés. Teo, vos cuando leíste y sabías a dónde va a llegar la historia, cuando sos en el momento de actuar tenés que perder información y saber menos de lo que realmente sabés porque tu personaje sabe menos. ¿Cómo funciona eso para vos?
No, es como decía Martín, que es también ponerse en el lugar en la historia en el que estás y tratar de hacer como si lo que le pasara fuera totalmente espontáneo, digamos, en la escena. No tenés que tener nada en mente de estar haciendo y pensando lo que pasó después, sino lo que ya pasó, y ahí podés, digamos, no sé cómo.
Perfecto.
¿Me entendés? Ayudando.
Yeah. Theo is saying that in his case, he's using information in the preview when we were working and building the character, but then in the shooting, he releases. He doesn't care about what is coming next, and the moment he needs to think or to connect with the ideas, he goes back to the scenes that have passed before, but never thinking in the future, just to have this fresh feeling that he's living in the present, what the character is living in that scene. So I think your question is great, and I can notice that you're an actor because this is very important in the whole process to manage the information, and the work with those two great actors. And the pleasure for me was because, and the challenge for me is because they are so good, but they're so different each other. So when with Martín, I had the chance to think a lot with and have conversations intellectually about the character and make these drawings, this arc of where is Manu at every moment. And he was asking me very intelligent questions about why is happening this and why this doesn't happen before or after. He has he needs to have it in his mind, and he's a very good actor using that information. He knows how to use that in favor of the story we are telling. And Theo is more intuitive, so he's giving us on set a fresh version of himself. Like he can be so like fire. He is like, he doesn't have a shape or he is not attached to the ground. He acts with a natural energy, and that's something that Theo brings to the character. And I think Felipe became more interesting in the movie than in the paper, because Theo has this fire inside. And with Manu, also it becomes more interesting in the movie than in the paper, because Martín was making so intelligent observations and removing all these little pink wash or like sweet things that they were maybe a little too much or too risky, and the movie can become so romantic and so sublime in a way. And he helped me to put it more to the ground and to make it so authentic every moment of concern and sadness and trouble, because he had all the information and he knew where to put it and how to use it.
And Mariano, in the edit, obviously, when you come to the edit, you have to kind of hope to return to a state of ignorance like an audience member, how do you get your head around doing that so that when you meet these pauses for the first time, or you know, the shape of a scene, how do you keep your head fresh and empty?
For me, it was a very challenging thing to edit the movie because I was used to work in short films, and when you make a little correction in a short film, it's like you control everything. You're like in a swimming pool, and you can see the borders. But in a movie, in a feature film, it's like an ocean, and every little thing that a silence which is longer or shorter than it should be for the story, it changes everything. And for me, it was a very difficult thing to do because they were so good in every take. They were giving me the process and the silence I wanted the scenes to have this heavy, this density, and not to be like a collection of moments without importance. So they gave me so much interesting moments that it was hard to decide and how to measure those moments and have the duration of the shots.
Great. Okay, we're going to go for a little ad break now. We're going to have a look at another one of Peccadillo's back catalogues, another coming-of-age story, The Way He Looks. Let's take a look.
Great.
Sobe.
E você, não se preocupa com isso?
Com o quê?
Ué, vai passar a vida inteira sem beijar ninguém, não?
Giovana. Aqui é o 211?
É, aqui sim. Como é que se chama?
Gabriel.
Ai, eu vou te falar uma coisa, esse menino novo é muito fofo.
Deixa eu ir. A gente pode esconder.
Welcome back, everyone. We're here talking about the excellent film Sublime from Peccadillo's back catalogue. And we've got the film stars and the writer and director with us. So what I'd like to discuss next, guys, is the Manu family. It seems an unpredictable world, but the one thing that I found really touching in the film is the positive father figure that's represented in the film. So let's take a little look at that clip and then we'll chat about it.
Cazzo despierto.
¿Y Azul? ¿Por qué se fue?
¿Vos por qué dormís en el taller?
¿Quién duerme en el taller? ¿Yo duermo en el taller? Yo no duermo en el taller. ¿Eso te preocupa?
No. Azul tampoco. Felipe.
¿Qué pasó?
Me tiene mal.
No entiendo.
Sentir esta mierda.
Manu. Te quedó jamón en el bracket.
¿Me estás jodiendo?
¿Qué tiene de malo sentir algo? ¿Lo hablaste con él?
Camisas tenemos, los 4. Pantalón, saco, algo.
Es ridículo.
No es ridículo, nos ponen en otro nivel.
I was actually listening to the Kate Bush song, This Woman's Work, this morning, and it opens with the line talking about a man going, when a child is born, turning from a man into the craft of the father. And that scene kind of has that kind of deftness of softness of touch and a kind of clear-sighted view of his child that seems really inspiring and touching.
Yeah, I think the relationship, this is one of the, I mean, the fundamentals of the movie, to have this sincerity between father and son, and how that this news about having these feelings about Felipe doesn't panic anybody except Manu, who's dealing with all these things. And in another positive thing in the movie is that he's not feeling panic because it's a boy. It's because he's his best friend. So that's the key of everything in this movie. And for that, the father it becomes a friend, like somebody so close, and they can really make a little joke about that this is a sign of that they are not dealing with a problem, at least for the father. It's like, this is something that so easy, so simple, and so nice that is happening to you. That was the and I was watching the scene right now, and I wanted to share that was, I don't know if Martin knows that, but that's the first shot, and the second day of shooting, and we did a lot of takes of that conversation, and the best one was the first one. In this case, it was really discovered in the editing room, because we made like 7 or 8 long takes about that, changing some things, but the first one was the better. I enjoy every moment, every singular action that he makes, like looks down, looks up. He gets mad with his father. He gets surprised. Everything is like a score. Like he's like Martin, like an actor, is like playing music in the scene all the time. For me, I'm very thankful for that. I don't know, what do you think, Martin, when you watch the scene?
I think that scene is one of my favorites. It's not my favorite, but it's one of my favorites. The father, like, being like a best friend also, it's like, I love it, because if I'm not wrong, maybe in some movies or series where a character has maybe a relationship with any person, maybe the parents are not so present in helping, like a real friend, like not like a father help. It's more like a friendship, and I love that, and I love filming that scene, because I remember, like, my father, because he's a very friend of mine. I remember that.
And Martin, do you remember when you filmed it, what the silences felt like? Because there seemed to be very, very long silences in that scene, and almost a sense that one of you could stop and say, "Oh, it's your line now," you know, like that kind of worry that you get as an actor that none of you know what you're doing. But it feels like you both bravely just stuck with it and didn't cut.
That we practice a lot with Mariano, of like Manu is in silence, but is in silence physically, but in his head there are a lot of thinkings and feelings about Felipe, about Azul, and all the characters, and he's like he uses the silence to think and to process what he's saying, and he cares a lot of what he says and the words he uses, I think. And we constructed that with Mariano in order to create that silence to be not only a silence and nothing more.
Yeah, so it sounds like you created an internal script as well as learned the external script.
Exactly. We had a but because in this scene, if you read it from the script, it's like 15 seconds. The dialogues are very simple and very quick to say. But just we made something. I don't remember if it was with this scene or another scene with this kind of silence moments for Manu, and we made the exercise to fill that silence with words, with ideas, and it was really challenging. It was really fun because we did it with Martín, and he was speaking out loud all his ideas and his thinking, and it was full of words. And then the second stage was removing that and leaving and keeping that exercise internal, and the body and the eyes and the muscles, everything is dealing with all those internal conversations, but silence is in the scene. So maybe I think that it's a movie I enjoy. I think it's more enjoyable when you watch it without pauses, because right now, in the streaming world, we are used to stop the movie and go to prepare a coffee or go to the bathroom and then come back tomorrow with the rest of the movie. And this, when you go through the movie without pause, it's like you understand those silence are meant to be there for a reason.
Yeah. And I'm really interested in the film about this idea of bringing how the characters are bringing subconscious elements into the conscious world. And they seem to do it through their creativity with the band, learning to play music, learning to create. But they also seem to be doing it with each other. You know, obviously the timeline of the opening emotional connection in the birthday party going through to this growing adult relationship. But I'm also interested how subconscious to conscious works as a writer and director, because obviously when you write something in private, then the production meets the writing, and then you meet the edit, which might be a surprise from what you thought you'd filmed, and then obviously the audience meet that idea. So there's these collision points of different of what you intended and what appears. Mariano, how did it feel going through, like, from your first draft and showing that for the first time to then premiering at festivals and meeting an audience for the first time?
It was amazing. It was really nice, and it was like a bit like feeling naked at some point in many stages of the process, because writing the story was in solitude was really comfortable for me, and it was like moving an energy for myself, and I only was involved myself. And then when I start reading it to other people and receiving different opinions, when the pre-production starts and when we start working with Theo and Martín, and it was like getting naked a little bit, and then new ideas came to the ship, and the ship keep sailing, and again it was like a really nice process. But then again, going to the editing room was having to decide a lot of things. I was not prepared, but at the end it was again with the editor, which is great. Maria is a beautiful person with a beautiful and very precise eyes and scissors, and I have learned a lot with her, and again I felt the gem was there, and the story was more than I dream about at the beginning. And then again, right now it's like 1 year exactly from the world premiere in Berlin, and having the reactions and people with emotion and crying, and people saying thank you, and other people maybe not liking it, but it's part of the whole thing of telling a story. But it was amazing. It was a very interesting process for me as a first feature film director.
And to boys, obviously when you act something, you're putting out lots of intentions, and there's always a sense of understanding perhaps what you imagine your performance to be. But once that performance goes through the editing process and your director viciously cuts all the best takes that you did and uses other ones, and you finally see the film, what was that journey like for you too?
Teo, lo que dice Chris es cómo se siente haber puesto todo el corazón en las tomas, en el rodaje, donde das todo y después te encontrás que en la edición el director elige otras tomas o quita algunas partes que para vos eran las mejores. ¿Cómo fue tu relación con eso? I don't know who goes first.
Nada, eso es algo que pasa siempre en todas las películas. Vos ya cuando empezás a grabar sabés que esa escena que estás grabando ahí mismo se puede cortar, pero igualmente tenés que dar lo mejor y tenés que hacer como si fuera todas las escenas que grabás van a la película. Personalmente a mí no me modifica, digamos, si va una escena o no, porque yo sé que hubo mucho proceso de edición y muchas decisiones tomadas para que quede de esta manera y quedó impecable, así que no me podría quejar de nada.
He's saying that he's very aware of that as an actor, that sometimes the things are being cut from the movie, but he's concerned about giving 100% in every scene, as it is going to be on the film forever. And then he trusts that all decisions are made with for the best of the movie. So he really enjoyed the result, and he thinks the movie reflects what we wanted to show. Martin?
And for me, it's obvious that I'm questioning Mariano sometimes in some scenes, but I'm not an editor, and I think that the edition was for the best that it could be, and maybe in some scenes there are shots that I thought that were better, but in the big screen, the other shot that I didn't like it was better, and it was better for the movie, and I think that it's okay.
Yeah, it's very difficult because one of my favorite things is when you rehearse in the theater, and when you're in the rehearsal room, everything can be seen. But then often an actor will design something or do something which they think is going to be very important. And when you get on the stage, you actually discover that bit of the stage isn't lit, and so no one can see it. So all of that effort in rehearsals was wasted. And it can happen in film also. You know, you put all of your effort into one really good bit, one bit that you think is vital, and then it just gets cut. Or the angle they use just completely cuts it out. It can be a real, it could be a humbling experience to your craft.
Exactly, yes. It's really hard because it's like losing control for the actors. I think in theater, it's possible that this thing with the light, but in a way you are on stage, you're live, and you're driving yourself and making decisions, and the people is getting that in real time. But in movies, everything is so connected with the music, with the photography, with the rhythm, And then, like as an actor, I think you lose control, and that must be really hard. But you find people like Theo who trusts, and he doesn't need to watch the process, and Martin as well. But I think Martin was more curious about which takes or which lines are going to be in the film or left out.
Yeah, I can see perks to both approaches. Like, I think when I've done things, I've watched it back, and it's sometimes given me information that can help me improve, but then it can also give me a self-consciousness which can be tricky to handle. One of the other things about the film that I really love is this sense that the characters just do things and then spend quite a lot of the time in the film trying to work out why. You know, they kind of act and then think. How did you go about designing that kind of, because it's quite a hard thing to capture. You know, to make a character, to open a character up to misinterpretation by just showing the action. That seems quite a risky way to play it.
Yes, I know, but I trust that the characters were, in a way, we work a lot to design these characters and gave them personality, and they are like persons, and I believe in all the scenes you can notice that they are not bad people, or they are not doing things because they are selfish, or they have bad intentions. I think in that way the movie is very like good. I mean everything happened. There is no evil force coming into anybody's minds. Everybody's just trying to make it the best for the friendship, for the band, for the family. And they deal with things we deal every day, like fears, especially fears, and then not knowing how to deal with emotions that involve other people's emotions. And when they feel something, I think that is about, all that is about the teenage moment, and everything is, in a way, you lose control of things, and then you need to understand why, and you ask questions. But in that, generally in that time of the life, things are easier to, or things just come out like without a clear shape, and those characters have the courage to deal with that.
Yeah, that courage is a good thing to pick up on. Now we've got a clip here, and it shows in the story, the boys go to a van. They kind of use a van as a secret space that they can use as teenagers. Manu has a fit of rage and destroys the van, and it gets discovered. And this is one of the really potent collisions in the film. Let's take a look.
Te estuve llamando.
Lo dejé apagado. No entiendo para qué mierda la bardean. Tenías razón, no voy a dejar la llave ahí. Ya fue. Tenía que pasar.
Fui yo.
¿Qué decís?
Fui yo. Perdóname.
¿Por qué? Sabías lo importantísimo que era para mí. ¿Qué te hice? ¿Qué culpa tengo yo de lo que mierda te pase? ¡Habla, forro! Qué buen regalo de cumpleaños. Ahí tenés la furgo, hecha mierda. Decilo. Decilo.
Me enamoré de vos.
So that makes me feel so much, that scene, because it just feels exciting and absolutely terrifying at the same time. It just feels so dangerous. And I think we've probably all been in similar situations. Okay, we're going to go to some Q&As now from our live viewers. So the first one, we got Scudder. A question about the emotional part of the film and the emotional process. You mentioned that the father scene was one of the second films. So did you film in chronological order, or did you have to jump around, and how did you get through that?
We're jumping around all the time. And we had this, like Martin said, this timeline in our minds and in our scripts, because we need to switch locations all the time. And we were shooting in the middle of pandemic, so everything was uncertain about how it was going to be the next week. And we left the shooting for the ocean scenes and the beach for the end, without knowing that we were going to be able to go. In fact, we did go. At the end of our shooting, 2 days after that, all the highways were cut because of the pandemic again, and the restrictions came back. So we were like extremely lucky to be able to shoot. But of course, the schedule was totally mixed. But we had a lot of rehearsals, so we had the chance to work that, and it was not a problem.
And how did you guys feel about using those rehearsals? Because obviously rehearsals can be a double-edged sword. They can be really useful, but sometimes as an actor you can also feel like you're going to lose the juices of the scene if you work on it too much.
¿Entendiste, Teo?
No.
Pregunta de los ensayos. Los ensayos, que suelen ser un arma de doble filo para los actores, porque por un punto asuman un montón, pero si hay muchos ensayos, a veces sentís que podés perder la frescura del trabajo al repetir tanto.
A mí personalmente me pasó que los ensayos toda la semana estábamos ocupados con ensayos, pero no sentía carga. No era que capaz que repetíamos mucho las escenas, capaz que las que eran muy cruciales las repasábamos un par de veces, pero no eran tampoco las primeras que se grababan en set, entonces volvías a tener esa frescura, digamos. Te ayudaban para ya llegar preparado al set, pero sin sobrecargarte y sin perder eso mismo, esa autenticidad, digamos.
He says that we had a lot of rehearsals, but we focus on the most emotional scenes, and those scenes were not shot at the beginning, so we had used that rehearsals to build the relationships and things, but then he had time to forget about the rehearsals and be fresh again when the shooting came.
For me, I think that the rehearsals were really positive because the rehearsals helped a lot in our friendship. Like we did really so friends with all the band, with Theo, with Joaquin, and with Facundo. And that helped a lot next in the shooting to be so fresh and to have a really good chemistry between us and to shoot the scenes. So I think the rehearsals helped a lot.
Yeah, because often the rehearsals can give you a kind of physical relaxation with each other that's hard to gain in because a film set is obviously it can be a sensory overload as an actor and hard to relax, and relaxation is one of the most important things. Okay, so we've got a question. What is your favorite Argentinian LGBT film or your favorite LGBT film overall?
¿Cómo?
¿Cuál es nuestra película favorita con temática LGBT de Argentina? ¿Y cuál es del mundo?
Se van a decir que se va a reír, pero que yo soy de consumir muy poco cine y entonces la verdad no podría responder.
They were saying that we shouldn't laugh to him, but he's not a big fan of watching films. He watches sports and goes to the stadium and that kind of things, but he doesn't watch so much films.
Yeah,
I can say that because I had to prepare some references for him, and I'm not sure that he didn't watch it. He doesn't like to watch films a lot. I will think about my answer, but I don't know, Martin, if you already know.
I don't know. I don't know. I am thinking about. I know that I watch movies. I have watched movies with LGBT, but I don't remember. I am thinking.
I can say mine. My election for Argentinian movie is, I will say two. One is a movie by Martín Deus, which is a friend of mine. I work as a director, and the movie is My Best Friend, Mi Mejor Amigo. I like that one. And also Camila Comes Out Tonight, from another Argentinian director, a female director. And in the world, I love a movie which is called Heartstone, from Gudmundur, from Iceland. Those are my choices.
Great. Yeah, going back to what Theo said, I find that a really interesting point of view because so many actors and directors and writers just swamp themselves with films or plays or anything. But I've now found that doing the opposite is almost better. Going to see paintings, music, sports. I mainly watch Drag Race and UFC. Like they're to me the two pinnacles of my culture. And they seem to give me a better research than a lot of films. Okay, Arthur, I watched a special features clip on the DVD that said the reason that Martin plays the bass is because he's a pivotal part of the band, and when he's not there, it feels like something's off. Is there a person in that plays this role? Not quite sure what the last bit means. But I've heard you, Mariano, talk about the choice of the bass as being an emotional register in the film.
Yes, because of the low notes, and you can notice when the bass is not there, like the music has no sense at all. Maybe you can miss the guitar, maybe you can miss some arrangements, but the bass is like the heart. And mostly we don't give the credits to the bass players as they deserve. So typically the main character of a movie should be the vocalist or the guitar player, because they are like the rock star, the frontmans. But I just wanted to twist that a little bit and to have Manu being the bass player, which is so important but so invisible at the same time.
Maybe people don't give it the credit because they're just playing one string at a time.
Exactly. Exactly. But it's not easy. It's not easy to play bass, and Martin can say that because he had to learn a lot about playing the instrument. But both of them, they had to learn specifically for the film to play the instruments. It was really fun. A lot of work.
Yeah, I bet. Okay, great. Well, thanks so much, guys. It's been a fantastic conversation. Thank you, Mariano, for translating for my poor Spanish. Maybe I'll learn a language one day. Thank you for the film. It's excellent. Everybody, you can watch the film on the Peccadillo pod. I think you can also buy the DVD on Amazon. Go to the Peccadillo website. There's a little promotional image.
Yes.
It's well worth a watch. It's really well put together film. I really enjoyed it.
This is Teo when he had hair.
Yeah, Teo's gone for a different look for our interview. There you are. Look, sweet. So it's brilliant. Really recommend the film, everybody. It's going to be it's the kind of film that I think you'll look back on in a few years and feel really proud of. So well done, guys.
I hope so. Yeah. Thank you
for joining us, and thanks to the BFI for continuing to support the Peccadillo Sofa Club. Now, next week we've got a discussion with Simon Napier Bell and guests about his documentary 50 Years Legal. So hopefully you'll be free to join us then. All right, thanks for joining us. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
I notice from young people, they do just seem to mix everything up much more.
It's not just about society accepting gay people, it's about gay people accepting themselves.
It's become more common, and it's like an emerging kind of consciousness about these identities and sexual fluidity, gender fluidity.
Fewer people give a toss about it.
I think the 50 years since the decriminalisation act and where we are today, look how far we've come.
We got rid of Section 28. We made it legal for gay people to serve in the military if they wanted to. We made it legal for gay people to teach. We made it illegal for anyone to be sacked on grounds of sexuality. We established an equal age of consent, and now it is illegal to discriminate on grounds of sexuality. So how the world has changed. It used to be illegal to talk positively about homosexuality in schools, and now it is required by the law. And that's been the revolution.